You think you know pain, do you? You don't know real pain. Have you ever been in love with a man? You give them your heart, your trust, your soul, and they give you back their laundry and also a whole bunch of insecurities that you never used to deal with before. And then you just get left behind as a broken husk of a shell of a person.
I don't know who I am without them. I know that's pathetic. I know it's pathetic, but it's true. Who am I supposed to be now?
Honey, be yourself.
What? Who? No! Ew!
And then they leave, saying that you're no longer the girl that they started dating anymore, saying that your expectations are too high. How dare you actually think that they know that they need to do the washing up when it's on the side of the kitchen? How dare you think that they should know that they need to go grocery shopping every week just like you do? You can't expect them to put the same amount of effort in as you do, because their job is so much more important than yours, silly. You expected him to remember your birthday and actually get you a gift or even a card? Silly rabbit. He's got far more important things on his mind and you're not one of them. But now you do get to know what pain is. Good luck to you for finding someone new. You think a man's going to want someone as demanding as you? You think a man's going to want someone who's as independent as you? You think a man's going to want a progressive feminist like you? Ooh, as if. You are now completely alone. He has now gone. Oh wait, he's gone? You mean I don't have to do all the housework for two people anymore? You mean I don't have to do all of his emotional support because he refused to go to therapy for years? This is great. Wait, okay, you're actually meant to be really scared by this. You're not meant to be celebrated. You're meant to be heartbroken as a puddle on the floor. You're meant to be Natalie Imbruglia right now. Your life is now over. A man has rejected you. You are alone. That means that you're now a spinster. Everything's gonna be bad from now on. This is amazing. What is this feeling?
Something slightly resembling gumption.
My one job is to ruin people's self-esteem and now they're ruining mine. Single is no longer scary. So are the straights actually okay? Debatable, always, but when it comes to this scenario, there's definitely some that are faring more okay than others. Quick disclaimer, because I know that people love to misinterpret me. All relationships, be they platonic or romantic, require effort and respect on all sides, okay? And I'm not just saying, oh, it's just men that are doing this, because trust me, I've seen women treat men terribly. What we're pointing out in this video is kind of like the issues that's going on with straight relationships. So I'm not purposefully excluding other people, it's more the fact that there is something which I've seen bubbling for like a year, and I've wanted to make this video for a year, but now I just it's time, and you also voted for it, so here we go. Historically, being single has been an incredibly scary thing for women. If a man leaves you, you are left vulnerable, destitute almost, an old hag, someone that nobody wants anymore, and like a burden on society, and you would struggle to get by basically. And financially, you were kind of screwed, so you had to put up with it, whatever it turned out to be, and just stand by your man. Divorce was only starting to get a little bit more normalized in the 1960s, but it carried so much stigma still with it, and people really did get treated differently and terribly in a lot of cases, especially if you're a woman. Ann Peterson writes in Blue Marriage and the Terror of Divorce, financially women got hit hard by divorce. A whole swath of people dropped out of the middle class entirely, many of them newly divorced mothers whose standard of living, according to one 1976 study, fell between 29 to 73%. And they suffered from downward mobility, which she argues actually had an impact on the kids of these marriages, because they could actually see that no, marriage actually doesn't mean a stable life. What it can offer and what it can't offer, it's not a be-all and end-all anymore. And I really want to remind you that financial freedom as a woman has only been a very recent thing. As a woman in the USA, you're only able to get a credit card in 1974, and no-fault divorce actually came about far later than what you may think. 1970 in the USA, 1976 in Germany, and 2022 in the UK. Yikes! As Emma Bunton wisely sang. What took you so long? That's such a pop, by the way, I love that song. I personally know people around my age who have gotten a divorce, and have I looked down on them? No. Honestly, if anything, there was definitely a twinge of sadness, because I love seeing people happy, and people seemed so happy when they were married, but it's really sad to actually know that that wasn't actually the case. That's really more of it. But I know that so much of it comes down to, oh, well, the best years of her life are behind her, and I'm like, No, what? What do you mean? Because I'm sorry, but if you're in a relationship with someone that's not making you happy, those are not the best years of your life. In the same way where people always go on about like school and college being the best years of your life, no, for a lot of us, they were hell and torture. What people really mean by this is her breeding years are diminished, which I mean sure is a factor if the person wants to have children, but it's not the nail in the coffin for happiness like it's been sold to us. It's literally placing the worth of a person based on their ability to birth to provide function for a man. Ick. But this has been changing in recent years. Last year, Miley Cyrus's song Flowers was the breakup anthem of all of the breakup girlies. And child-free women have absolutely been dominating a lot more of the space by actually saying the reasons why they don't want to have children and breaking another norm there. And then we've also got single women actually just saying, actually, I'm really happy by myself, but I'm never really truly alone because I have a community of people around me and I don't have to have a man define me. This is a big shift. I think that we can often not quite realize that, but even in the 2010s, this would have been very radical. Sadly, at least in the mainstream. Being in a relationship is a choice, just like leaving one is. But now the threat of being single is no longer the punishment of not being an obedient woman like it once was. But when it comes to people being single and wanting to be single, as I spoke about in this video here, there is no denying the fact it is far more expensive to actually be single in this, capitalistic hellscape, right? I know one of the main reasons that people are staying in unhappy relationships is because they can't actually afford to leave. And this disproportionately impacts women because, the gender pay gap issue is still very much here, and what are deemed to be, quote, female jobs are paid far less than they should be, no matter how essential they are to society functioning. And this disproportionately affects people with disabilities or physical or mental health issues, or if you have a chronic illness, because you can't work in some cases or you cannot work much at all. So that makes you actually dependent on the relationship that you're in because, hey, guess what governments keep on trying to do is strip away any social safety nets, which is really hurting all of us. Married men get preferential treatment at work, meanwhile married women don't. And we still function in a society where even if you're an incredibly hardworking single person, home ownership or heck even affording rent by yourself is a near impossible thing unless you've got strong intergenerational wealth so you can rely on that to fall back on or actually get a bit of a leg up to be able to actually get into the housing market or something. And this disproportionately impacts BIPOC folk who actually don't have that because we still live in a white supremacist society. Yet at the same time, with all of these issues, people would rather be single than in an unhappy relationship, and this is a sentiment that rings very strong for women.
Waited on you hand and foot, and it was exhausting. I fed you meals, and you could have had your cast off 2 weeks ago.
Could I have gotten my cast off 2 weeks ago? Technically, yes, but I really, really like it when you serve me food.
Get out. Get out of my house.
Wanting respect and mutual effort is not a radical thing in a relationship. How many videos of weddings have you seen where men are just cake smashing into their bride's face, even though the bride clearly doesn't want it and is actually really upset by this? And think about it as well, when it comes to the vows, men writing very inappropriate and lewd and honestly gross vows, meanwhile the wife is there doting on the husband. Or a video like this where a family is out to dinner and the husband actually isn't helping with the children at all, meanwhile just leaving it all to the wife. Or all of the memes of men not knowing how to do grocery shopping, you have to get them little pictures so they know what they need to buy. And I'm sure you've already watched the entire series from Risa Tisa where she's actually been sharing her experience of a absolutely terrible relationship. It's all linked for you down below. Or heck, we can even just have a look at the dating pool and look at the dating apps. Look at the bios of men and also the messages that men send to women that the women are just actually, no, I'm not really interested in that sort of thing, and how verbally violent and degrading they get towards women at the sheer notion of rejection. And people are wondering why women want to stay single and are actually happy in that choice and creating nice, fulfilling lives for themselves. The solutions are clear to pretty much all of us, right? Especially if you're watching this video. But the thing is that patriarchal standards have been platformed and still are being platformed along with toxic masculinity, that it means that I personally don't see this rift actually ending anytime soon. And there's the other side to this coin, that it's actually making men more miserable as women just move on without them and men just get left behind. Unpaid labor is still labor, it's just that patriarchy doesn't actually put a value to it. I am honestly yet to meet a successful man who hasn't gotten there by having a woman or multiple women actually do all of the unpaid labor in his life so that he can succeed at patriarchy's game, right? Because he doesn't have to worry about the washing or the cooking or the cleaning or any of the grocery shopping or all sorts of other stuff. He could just step right on top of these stairs that she's nicely built for him and just focus on his career and his health and well-being. Meanwhile, she's actually doing a hell of a lot of work behind him. And I know that this saying exists, but like, that's all unpaid work, sweetheart. I don't like it. I know people love to hold up Einstein as an amazing genius who was also incredibly kind, but then just have a little look at the contract that he made his wife sign. Oh God. And the thing is that women still do more unpaid labor than men, even though women are working. A 2019 US Bureau of Labor Statistics report indicates on an average day in 2018, only 20% of men did any housework in comparison to nearly 50% of women. And this study from 2021 dives into things deeply, where it shows globally women undertake 3 times more care and domestic work than men. And this got exasperated and a light got shone on it during the panoramic, right? Because what kept on happening was women were actually doing more work than men, even if both partners were at home. A nationally representative household study in the UK during the first lockdown, April to May 2020, found that not only did women do about 2/3 of the housework and childcare, but they were more likely than men to reduce working hours and adapt employment schedules because of spending increased time on unpaid care. And all of this has had negative effects on women's mental health overall because they're just constantly shouldering more and more work burden. They're not being appreciated for it, they're not being paid for it, and it's just seen as like nothing work. But you know, carry on, go off about how your wife has let herself go since having children and how you'd rather sleep with young people. And it's like, oh my God, you're not even helping around the house at all, Jerry. Shut up. If a woman in a relationship earns more than her male partner, this creates issues as well, but not because of her own fault, but because of patriarchal standards being so rigid. A 2019 study showed that men experience psychological distress if their wife earns 40% of the household income. Well, dang, Brandon must really have been struggling for the past 11 years that we've been together then. There's an incredibly interesting BuzzFeed article where they actually did their own research into this and they interviewed people who were actually in an income imbalance in their relationship. So the woman earning more than the man and the impacts of that. What a lot of it actually boils down to is trying to avoid these feelings of shame actually falling onto the male partner. Like you would never admit that you earn more than him. You would never like flex more than him. And it was constantly about trying to make him feel better because he felt worse because you were earning more than him, which is a real concern. And there's one part which I just want to read verbatim for you. Richardson said she also out-earned her ex with whom she has a child, and he treated it like an assault on his masculinity. She said that he would try to repair his ego by buying electronics and going on guys trips that she would foot the bill for because he felt it was my fault that his masculinity was in question to begin with. The amount of ego stroking and making myself smaller I've had to do so a boyfriend doesn't get depressed or resentful or just mean about the fact that I earn more is stomach churning. She's relieved her current partner is wildly different. You know that I talk with Brandon about like all of my video ideas, right? And we're both like just really sad that this is such a shared experience with people because you know what, like right from the start, he has been the one to actually push me to say like, if this is a dream that you have, go and do it. He was the one that helped me to actually find courses that I could do to do my 3 business diplomas so I could study that part-time. You know this right here on YouTube right now, he was the one that was like, well, if you've been wanting to do this since you were 18, why not just do it? And he actually researched all of the tech and sorted out like the programs to actually use. Like for real, it's so weird to him that men have internalized this sort of messaging and that they feel lesser than if their partner earns more than them because it's like, do you not like having money? Do you not want to have a nicer life? Like the fact that people can't be proud of their partner for the fact that they have achieved something, that they are getting recognition for their hard work or something, and yeah, even if that's rewarded with money, the fact that they can't be happy with that is a sign that it's a really unhealthy relationship. Like a good relationship supports each other and they nurture each other and they want each other to succeed, right?
That was amazing. That was a flu-ridden Michael Jordan at the '97 NBA Finals. That was Leslie Knope.
But I guess apparently not. However, this just shows like the weakness of this person's own sense of self and their own fragility of their ego with the fact that they're lashing out at their partner who they supposedly love. This is the effect of toxic masculinity personified. The shame that really used to exist around getting divorced has been slowly evaporating, and it makes perfect sense when you actually think about it, right? Does this mean that women don't want to be in romantic relationships? No, not at all. They absolutely do want to be in romantic relationships. It's just they don't want to go doing all of this unpaid labor, all of the emotional labor, and kind of like try and train a man up in a way because he doesn't know how to cook or clean or like do dishes or get groceries or something.
But you girls don't listen.
What?
Change you! This all is changing.
No, stop! That's disrespectful!
What?
Stop it! Look, I like you the way you are. I'm just asking you to grow a little.
Are we ever gonna get to the point where you stop working on me? Or instead of changing me, maybe once just see it my way.
Well, you're always crazy and illegal.
This is me. Take it or leave it. I'm not changing for anyone.
It's more the fact that when it comes to the younger generation, in particular with women, a lot of like their single time is actually spent on building, you know, better relationships with people around them, self-reflection, self-improvement, and actually realizing, oh, I've done these things wrong and this is the stuff that I should work on to, you know, be better in myself, to be happier in myself, whatever. Meanwhile, what's been encouraged with men, at least from my perspective, and because I know that the alt-right rabbit hole is a strong pull, it's more about like blaming everyone else around you for not fitting into patriarchal like norms which have been set in place, because those are outdated now. Let's be real. To go into this topic far deeper, go and check out this amazing video from FD Signifier. He actually dropped this after I'd finished recording this video, but seriously, it's such a good piece of work and goes into things much more in depth. It's linked for you down below. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen that I shared this video to my stories. Ollie Spaulding filmed her friend who found out her boyfriend was cheating on her, so she made him move out, and on that same day, she had a party with all of her friends playing all sorts of breakup songs, and they had a really great time. She was laughing and celebrating whilst he was carrying his boxes out of the house, which is, you know, quite a radical thing, because previously the whole image about a guy cheating on you means that you are ugly, you are worthless, you're meant to be crying for weeks, you're meant to be a puddle on the ground, you're meant to just be a burrito eating heaps of ice cream. But no, instead, you have this camaraderie around you from fellow women, and you can actually celebrate the fact that, oh, I deserve better than this. My worth as a woman is not actually defined by a guy. And honestly, this is pretty amazing. People finding joy from a situation that would have broken so many people. And I'm not saying that people aren't sad when a breakup happens, right? Because they definitely are. It's more the fact that we've got more people actually realizing I'm worth more, which is amazing. And I'm so here for it.
Don't come at him.
Don't come at him.
I'm not
Don't come
talking to
here.
you, Lauren.
Yeah,
Shut
you're
your
coming
mouth.
here.
Can you muzzle your woman?
Muzzle your woman.
Muzzle your woman?
Don't talk to her like that, man.
She needs it. She needs it.
Mate.
The left to right divide is growing, and it's creating issues with our relationships. You've all seen the articles saying that Gen Z and Gen Alpha guys are veering more towards conservative beliefs, right? According to this article, which was the first thing that actually came up on Google for me, which is incredibly worrying, which I'll tell you about in a second as to why, that's not really the case. What he's saying is that men aren't becoming more politically conservative, it's just that they don't care about politics. Like, they're based in the USA, right? So what women have had to go through is the Trump presidency, the Me Too era, and Roe v. Wade getting overturned, but that doesn't impact guys at all. When someone is being actively hurt and you're just there like, not my problem, but you could actually do something and not get hurt at all, yeah, that's criminal negligence, right? This apathy and inaction is actually a political choice. This article kind of boils it all down to young men are still figuring themselves out, so they tend to identify as more middle of the road. And it's like, sweetheart, we're all figuring ourselves out for far longer than what you think. Like, I'm 34, I'm still figuring myself out too in a lot of ways. But that doesn't mean that you get to opt out of humanity just because you're still learning about the world. I would argue we should always continue to be learning about the world, no matter what age we're at. The reason why I was worried about why that popped up first on my Google results is it's from a centre-right think tank. That's scary. Younger generations of women are veering more left-leaning now and are less likely to actually consider guys if they aren't politically aligned with them, which, you know, makes sense from a safety perspective. I'll definitely point that out. Like, say for example you're a woman but then you find out that your partner is pro-forced birth, or the euphemism pro-life, and that kind of puts you in a very challenging situation in the USA because your safety is kind of in jeopardy there, especially depending on what state you actually reside in. And also, given all of the continuous news stories which have come out, if a guy is still pro-forced birth, I would run. To quote this article from The Conversation, in 2022, almost half of Polish men aged 18 to 21 supported the far-right Confederation Party, in contrast to just a sixth of women in that age group. In Germany, there are signs young men under 30 are moving towards the far-right Alternative for Germany, actively opposing immigration more than their elders. In Australia, the divide is apparent too, as this chart shows. 0 is extremely left, 10 is extremely right, and 5 is centre. So there has been a shift of younger generations of men to be moving a little bit more left-leaning than older generations, but it's nowhere near close to what it is with young women. In 2020, a Pew Research Center poll found that more than 70% of Democrats who were single and looking would not consider dating someone who voted for Trump. Makes sense, right? The lashing out of certain self-proclaimed alpha men is emblematic of the fact that we're going through another period of change. This has happened through every single progressive movement throughout history, as people are trying to say, like, no, the status quo isn't inclusive enough, this isn't actually right, we want to be able to move things forward, we want more people to be taken into consideration. Like, you can literally see all of the stuff that we're seeing now happen throughout history. It's just now we've got social media, which means it's a lot easier to hear everyone's horrific bigotry and terrible thoughts, and it's very scary. And I don't see this issue of men turning more to the right and women turning more to the left to get resolved anytime soon, as in, like, hopefully men at least not getting too that way. Like, just come back over here a little bit, please respect human rights, please. Do you know what I find the most ironic thing is that men for years have been like, what do women want? Nobody knows what a woman wants, they're so hard to figure out. And it's like, women are literally telling you exactly what they want in a relationship. They want mutual respect, they want appreciation, they want mutual effort, and yeah, it's is that really a lot to ask for? You know, to be treated like a human? I don't think it's asking for too much personally, and if anyone tries to tell you that that's too radical, ugh, sweetheart. I know that I'm one of the advocates for, like, talking through issues, but maybe just get ready to wear that Britney Spears t-shirt, okay? And the thing is that when we actually say this stuff, some men are like, well, you want a breadwinner, and you want someone that's tall, and you want a guy with all of his hair and all of this stuff, and it's like, trust me, I think a lot more women would be open to, like, someone that's genuinely emotionally mature than you really think, okay? And I'm not saying that women don't want, like, guys to be attractive or whatever. I'm just saying, like, it's not quite the thing that you're saying here. Like, women just want to feel safe with their partner, and statistically, y'all are the ones that are red rumming us, okay? Y'all are the ones that are hurting us most. Like, when someone unalives, the first person to be looked at is the partner, especially when it's a woman that is passed, okay? I'm just saying it's something to just bear in mind. Comes down to a safety aspect for a lot of women. This is one of the main problems with the isolationist red pill BS that just goes under the guise of self-improvement when it's genuinely just peddling misogyny. It's not actually helping guys learn how to cook or take initiative and clean, how to actively listen, or how about unpaid labor needs to be shared. No. Instead, it goes into saying something like, if a woman's ever been touched by another man, that she's impure, but, you know, like, the hands of the man are never called into question. They speak of submissive young girls that they can mold, not about empowering each other in a partnership to learn together and strive towards both of their goals, supporting each other. It's just BS, and it's making men get left behind and honestly miserable. Men are struggling with loneliness more than women, and it's no surprise why, but the thing is that it can change. But unless they want to do that work, they're gonna be left lagging behind, which honestly hurts my heart, because it will take them so long to unlearn all of this stuff. And quite frankly, this is actually going to be making men more dangerous, and I do genuinely worry about what the future's going to be like as men feel more and more entitled, and women gain more and more independence and self-assurance, because lashing out is something which happens already, but I kind of see it potentially getting worse. We need better education for boys, better role models for men. We need to let go of all of these patriarchal teachings so that kids can grow up knowing that if their wife earns more than them, that just means that they're going to have a, like, nicer life overall. You'll be able to enjoy the nicer things in life. Oh no, what a terrible thing to have to suffer through. Come on. That something like this is not taking away their masculinity, and if people think it is, we really need to reevaluate what the term masculinity even means. Whew, goodness, does all of this mean that I think relationships are doomed? No, not even the straight relationships, okay? I think that healthy relationships can and do still happen, including for straight people, despite the struggle that is being faced by a lot of people. I know so many people that are just like, oh my gosh, dealing with all of the stuff I've been talking about, they're just exhausted by it. Previously, I've shouted out male influencers who I think are really, really positive for guys to actually make sure that they've got role models who aren't actually just in the alt-right sort of space. So I will have some on screen now and I'll link them below. Yet again, I've already done that previously. But like, I just wanted to make sure that we're not going to lose hope. And the thing is that, as I've talked about so many times, relationships come in all different shapes and forms, and romantic love is not the only kind of love in the world, okay? Having solid friendships and having those really great support networks is so important. And yes, I do understand third spaces have gone. I've talked about all of this stuff when it comes to loneliness before, but decentering just romantic love has actually been an incredibly positive thing for women, and it could be for men, except it's become something that's very twisted for them, sadly, in a lot of cases, even though it should be a really, really positive thing. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, what do you think would solve things? Because I'm very keen to hear, because you know me, I love solutions. It's just sometimes a little bit challenging. Now, for the emoji this week, why don't we have your favorite colored heart and also a bunch of flowers, because as Miley did say, you can buy your own flowers. But the environmentalist in me is just very consciously aware about the, terrible effect of the environment of those, so maybe go pick a few wildflowers instead. How about that? I hope you love this. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I will see you again in 2 weeks for the next video. Bye!